Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Friday the 13th. They were warned, they are doomed, and on Friday the 13th, nothing will save them.
Directed by Sean S. Cunningham, starring Adrienne King, Kevin Bacon, and Betsy Palmer, this is the origin of Camp Crystal Lake. This is a camp with a bad past. People have died, whether due to being murdered, drowning, or just had bad experiences because of the water.
In 1962, they was gonna open up, the water was bad.
Fast forward to present day, or at least present day in 1980. We've got our camp counselors getting ready for all the kids to come to camp. They're just trying to spruce things up, do some renovations, and get ready for the season. And unfortunately, they start getting picked off and killed one by one. This is not a retrospective, but we will be talking full spoilers on this one because we assume that most of you have seen this movie. We want to talk about it. We actually did this almost in reverse chronological order. If you want to watch the playlist, by all means, we will progressively get worse and worse production-wise, and I'll probably lose 40 pounds or so by the time you're finished. It should be interesting. But I do want to say thank you to Deke, who recommended most of the series. He was a longtime patron of ours, and this is just kind of thank you for supporting the channel. He didn't recommend this one. I think he just forgot and recommended some other stuff. But we need closure here, so we're gonna finish it off. What do we like?
I like the story. I like the whole POV killer feel, the mystery of who is killing, because it's hard taking this film in as a rewatch, knowing where the franchise goes and knowing who the killer is in this film. You have to accept Jason isn't in this film and you don't know who the killer is, and there's an appreciation for that mystery, and that's what I liked about it.
Right, because when you're looking around the camp, it's just kids being kids. To us, they haven't done anything wrong, nothing's out of place, everybody seems to be accounted for, so you're like, okay, maybe it's Crazy Ralph, maybe it's somebody from the town that has an understanding of the dark history. Perhaps it's the truck driver for some reason. You don't really know. And not knowing is super important because it makes the reveal all that better. And there's just a weird feeling you get from people that are just isolated with basically no contact to the outside world, just doing their own thing, maybe playing some strip Monopoly, and then being spied on. Well, it's Pamela Voorhees, and she wants revenge for the death of her son, Jason. You might have heard of him because he was out in the lake and he drowned.
They were making love while that young boy drowned.
I get it. I'm not saying that I would kill somebody, but I would say, like, my son was swimming, where was the lifeguard?
Oh, he was out having sex in the bar.
I wouldn't take it into my own hands, but I also haven't been in that situation, and I hope I'm never in that situation.
There's also like the idea of devil's advocate here, because it's established that Jason is not a good swimmer, and from the flashbacks, he's significantly far.
Yeah, he's like pretty out there.
Yeah, we've seen the dock area.
It seems like Jason was just a little shit, and he's like, I'm gonna go do what I want to do.
We need the reenactment of this scene.
I bet that Ari Lehman has already cashed in on this. First Jason, ladies and gentlemen, the guy who plays the first Jason. He has a band. He does a lot of cameos in a bunch of horror movies, but I would imagine that he's also done maybe a short film, like a fan film of that. I do want to state right now, we are going to talk shit about this movie because that's what we do.
Are you crazy?
So back to what we do like. This film has fantastic kills. We have good kills early on, progression of the camp counselors getting it together, then someone dies off here in hiding. Like, they're slowly picked off one at a time. It's not like a big rush of murders. I think that they did a very good job with showing us the kills and how they were spaced out.
We talked about the POV aspect, and we're talking about building the tension with these people that are just being stalked. An important aspect of that is the sound design and the score. Harry Manfredini, who's done a lot of the scores for the Friday franchise, kills it here and sets the precedent for the sharp strings in slashers that you hear that are still replicated today. There's a lot of build, even if it's just a few notes here and there. You're like, uh-oh, something's happening. Of course, we've got the classic Friday the 13th sounds. There's so many different scenarios where they might be doing very ordinary things, but they tricked you. They made you feel like something was happening.
And then, of course, when we're introduced to Pamela Voorhees at the end, you think nothing of it. You think maybe she's just a local. You don't know the name Voorhees. You don't know anything. And the reveal, it just leads to the madness that is shown. The whole presentation of her as a killer is great. And I think it's underappreciated because everyone just wants to see a big beefy guy in a hockey mask with a machete, yet we have this older woman who, in theory, can be more scary because of how realistic she is.
Absolutely. We had this exact same conversation. We actually did a Patreon exclusive commentary if you're interested in hearing our thoughts on the movie. It's really funny, I feel. Link in the description, go check that out. But I totally agree. I also really like that they kind of flipped the stereotype on its head. Even though this was earlier, there wasn't necessarily a stereotype. It became a stereotype after this. The mother hearing voices of the son is much different. It's kind of like spun Psycho on its head a bit. And even though this was so early on in the slasher like generations, it's ahead of its time and still something that's not that often replicated. And I'd be remiss if I don't mention one of the best jump scares of all time, which is the finale. We have Adrienne King playing Alice. She's decapitated Pamela Voorhees, and she's like, okay, everything's done. Unfortunately, all my friends are dead. I'm just gonna get in this canoe and coast out into the wilderness. I don't think that was the best decision, but you know, it is what it is. She finally wakes up. We've got soothing, calm music, much different than what we've heard throughout the rest of the film. The police, unprompted, somehow come around the corner. She's gonna make it. And then we have Jason Voorhees, little baby Jason, come and grab him.
Little baby Jason.
Little baby Jason, come out and grab Alice. And you're terrified because you didn't expect it. And this is one of those examples where we've been coached throughout the film. You wouldn't even have known that just these like slow dolly ins where nothing happens. We just become accustomed to it throughout the length of the film up until this point to make us comfortable in those settings, to know that there's no jump scare coming, and then bam, we have a jump scare. And I just think that's brilliant. And I don't think there's any debate for that. Let's talk about our favorite kills. I'm gonna go with the most obvious one here because it's the best. Kevin Bacon's kill. He was just getting hot and heavy with his girl, maybe a little bit sizzly, you know, as Bacon does. And he gets an arrow through the throat. It's so slow, it's so perfect because you get all of the great angles of the arrow coming through, pushing the skin up, and just blood going everywhere. I just feel like the practical effects were so on point, no pun intended, but also looking back, like Kevin Bacon was not established. So it's probably even better for people who know Kevin Bacon now, and they go back assuming he's gonna be like a hero throughout the movie, and he gets killed like midway, and you're like, wait, what?
I say a good runner-up is Annie's death early on, because it's a nice, clean throat slice. It holds on the shot, and then the blood just like the clean red line, and then it drips out from the neck. It set the tone for the film.
Now, what didn't we like? I'm gonna come hot out the gate with this one. Alice is not a great final girl. I like Adrienne King. I think she did a great job as Alice, but the decisions that she makes are just bad. For instance, when she knows that people are all dead around her, her first instinct to secure a door is okay. It's like a rope. She's just like, okay, we're gonna tie this door closed. However, she starts like putting a bunch of stuff in front of the door, which opens the other way. Sure, it might impede a killer's path, but it's not stopping the door from opening. The rest of the stuff really didn't matter.
Yeah, you should be using that stuff on top of the desks, blocking the windows, which are easy access.
When she needs to grab a weapon, she grabs a little fork and a baseball bat instead of like something like a fire extinguisher or other more useful objects.
But it's also like other like decisions. When she leaves the cabin, she goes back into the same cabin where the showdown happened with her and Pamela Voorhees. Oh, I'm gonna turn all the lights off and start closing the blinds. You know what's gonna be a dead giveaway? When she's looking like, okay, this cabin's the same from a minute ago, this one's the same. Huh, I remember just leaving here with all the lights on, doors open and blinds open, but now everything's off. I wonder who could be in that cabin.
And people praise Alice as like one of the best final girls. She's like within the top 10 of a lot of people's top 10 final girls. Just because she does behead Pamela Voorhees, I understand the significance of it because it plays a big part in the rest of the Friday the 13th franchise. However, it was almost accidental.
Yeah.
At first she tries the oar.
Not only that, she's like sits with her back to where the killer is. Why would you turn your back on a killer and just casually like sit here?
Well, she knocked her over.
Yeah, but you should know better.
If you knock somebody over, they're not dead. I've knocked people over before. Haven't killed anyone, to my knowledge. I don't want to harp too much because I still like the character. I just don't think she should be put on the pedestal that everybody does put her on. I think it's just because of the legacy and nothing else, because her decisions were not very good. It is what it is. Also, as much as I hate snakes, I didn't like seeing an actual snake get chopped up with a machete. They could have used a piece of rubber tube and it wouldn't have taken away from the experience. We would have known the snake died and that was it. We didn't need to see it on screen.
And as much as I praise the kills in this film, there are more off-screen kills than you would think, which is kind of disappointing because there are some cool ones that we saw the aftermath. I just wish we could have actually seen those kills.
Yeah, the arrow slice and the arrow in the eye. That's the main one that I wanted to see happen in real time. God, that makes us sound so sadistic. It's like, we want to see people get murdered. We're Bloodbath and Beyond. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Friday the 13th is obviously iconic. I love the movie, I've watched it dozens of times. I love that we had a big range of characters. We had a lot of lighthearted moments coupled with a POV stalker. We had a killer in the woods that was taking people out and you didn't know who was next. You had absolutely no idea what was happening or who the killer was. You couple that with like the cinematography, the soundtrack, and just like the location of a summer camp, and it just has this great vibe to it. I just really appreciate the movie. However, there are some issues when it comes to the final girl decisions or just decisions in general. I'm just having fun with things. I think Adrienne King did a great job as Alice, but nitpicking her and her decisions and poking holes in certain things is just fun for us. At the end of the day, it still has one of the best jump scares of all time. It's set up for a franchise that I fell in love with, and in fact, have Voorhees tattooed on my body for a reason, because it is my favorite franchise. Even though it has some problems. It has some problems throughout, but I still love it. So I'm gonna give this 4.5 Crazy Ralph warnings out of 5.
It's Friday the 13th. What can really be said that hasn't been said before? This film is very iconic for setting up the franchise, but also giving us a unique killer in the reveal of it being Pamela Voorhees. I liked all of our kills. I thought they were very well done. Our characters were fun. The score is perfect. All the sound effects of the setting really added to this film. Doesn't matter how many times I watch it, I always enjoy it. Is it a perfect film? Not necessarily, but that doesn't take away from the enjoyment I have of watching this. And with that being said, I give this film 4.5 back bacons out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. I highly recommend the Scream Factory box set. It's awesome. And if you want to rewatch this with our commentary, link is in the description and the pinned comment to the Patreon. Check it out. We've got 40 plus commentaries now, which are awesome. You'll learn a lot more about us than just, we didn't like this, we did like that. Link is in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Stay up to date with everything here on Bloodbath and Beyond.
You're going to Camp Blood, ain't you? It's got a death curse.